Hey, Road Earners, welcome back to Live Medallion. I'm in my normal spot now because I don't really need to see data or anything like that. This is a response, as quick of a review as I could have given you, as soon as a review as I could have given you in regards to our massive victory against the Rice Owls. Happy to see that. I ain't going to lie. I was hoping we'd have gotten more. It was good and it was right. It was awesome to see Tennyson in there in the third quarter. When you're up that big, you've got to let those players play. Let's hope this is a sign of the rest of the season. We won't know until the rest of the season unfolds. But as of right now, yeah, I'm not. There's nothing to complain about. Obviously, we scored how many points? 61-13. Set school records. Knocked multiple quarterbacks out. So let's start on that. Let's start talking about that. I have lamented Rice has never been an easy game for us. You've heard me say that. Rice has never been an easy game for us. You heard me in my preview video. I expect to be 27-21. Rice could run the ball. I didn't think they could pass. That would help us on the defensive side of the ball to really control their game. And it did. They did pop that one nice little run there to score the touchdown. But after that, I mean, our defense really had continued to settle in. Gave them another 3 points, okay. But let's talk about how violently our defense played and played 100% within the rules. We knocked out both their quarterbacks with some pretty big hits. If you were at the game, now luckily I sit in the front row, but you could hear just the crushing hits. This is the most violent I have ever seen our defensive side of the ball play. Most violent. In 15 seasons, all those home games, road games, this is the most violent I've seen them play. And that level of violence picked up after they gave up that touchdown. That level of violence, 100% picked up after that touchdown. We were a hair timing, milliseconds timing of getting multiple late hits. But they weren't. And they were good hits too. So they might have been a late hit if they were a millisecond lower, but they weren't going to be any targeting. There was nothing like that. It was just bodies were flying and Rice bones were cracking. That's all you can say. That's all there was to it. Now I am surprised that Rice didn't really throw in the towel a little bit more. You're getting whomped that bad. There's a way you call an offensive game if you're the team getting whomped that bad that you don't put your players in that kind of a situation. There was no reason for them to pass. I'm glad they did because we hit their quarterback. The ball went back. It was going to be a backward pass anyway, but it created a fumble that we created a scoop and score. Right? But I am telling you, the quarterback on that one pop up where we hit him and he popped it up and he caught it in the air and ran it back. We hit the quarterback. We then hit the wide receiver. Perfect timing. That ball popped up to our guy. Boom, he was gone. That kind of stuff happens when you really give the business to the opposite side of the ball. Rice was at a point that when you throw, let me explain this to you. When you're down that big and that other team's popping you, you go into something similar to the I formation fullback lead and you dive, basically run a dive play. You don't set your second string or third string quarterback back to pass when that defensive line is eating as much as they were eating. I've told you, you've heard me talk about the player rotation that we have at our front five and our front six. So you don't really know what our starting line is. I mean, you do by who starts, right? Started the first defensive series of the game. But by the time we're through 3 defensive drives, there's so much rotation that these guys are equal. These guys are equal players, right? There's not much different between all of them, right? And this year specifically, we don't have that guy in the middle that's really big and physical that just eats up 2 or 3 blockers like we had with Joe Evans, right? Last year. We don't have that guy, right? That change our rotation a little bit. But these guys are all very similar. When you see them side by side, yeah, we got some big boys. Don't get me wrong. Booker Brown, right? That's what I'm talking about. We don't have that guy on the defensive line. We really aren't missing them. I'm telling you, we really aren't missing them. And that's why when you hear me lament, when I'm talking about what Rice did wrong offensively in that regard, that really set their kids up for failure, that is the kind of thing that can get kids, parents. Mind you, these might be 20-year-old men, 21-year-old men, 22-year-old men, but they still got parents. They still got mama bear that is worried about whether their kid's going to be maimed for life, right? Yes, he's playing football, and yes, he's earning a quality degree at the University of Rice University, or any university, right? And he probably isn't going to play pros afterwards, like a lot of our kids. But do you think their moms want their kids walking around with a permanent limp? Absolutely not. Because of stupid things, right? Not outside of the game. And that's my point. And that's where you can see where head coaches lose a team. Now let's talk about during the game. So I'm sitting here during the game and I get a text. And it says, "I hope we put 60 on them." I'm gonna mention that. Then I said, I said, dude, and we have Tennyson in, right? And it's kind of funny. And he said, and I said, defense is eating. And he said, "I hope we get 60. I said, all we need to do is run the ball sweep style. And that was my response. And if you look at our running play, we came out passing. We got over the top. That surprised me. And I'm happy we showed that we could get over the top and connect instantly. Because once that happened, they got to sit back. They got to worry about that, right? But we always do that mesh read where it's more of an up the middle. It's the same style of run that Robert Henry did a jump cut and he was gone against Texas A&M. That's our style of running the ball, right? They got to make a jump cut, they got to make a read, and then they take off, right? Well, most teams, when you defend that, if they're playing that style, if they commit to us playing that style, it's called a run blitz. As soon as we're in that mesh read, they send their 2 spies on the running back and they just go fill a hole. And Rice was doing that. Rice was absolutely doing that. But we were passing on them because they were worried about our running game. They were absolutely 100% worried about our running game. And they had reason to worry about our running game. Because I am telling you, when we ran the cross sweep where the running back comes across the QB instead of they meet in the middle, right behind center, and it's designed to go left or right, gone. Tennyson's run, boom, gone. Henry did one, boom, gone. You know, I think that set up 3 scores or were part of 3 scores. Yeah. If we got into the edge, I told my person that sits next to me, I said, we need to go sweep on here. We need to get to the edge. I don't think they're fast enough to set an edge on us. Boom. And I had said it a couple times later, boom, they were gone. It was nice. And I also got to give that person a shout out that was texting me during the game. He said, let me get to it. I said, I do like how the entire second string offense got to play a meaningful drive there. right? And it was pretty much entire second string offense. I think we even played our third string QB. I'd have to look. Not going to look. It doesn't matter. But we got the USC transfer in there, right? At running back. We got all our running backs in there. And that's what I have been lamenting about. We have enough talent. They just got to get their legs underneath them. They have to, whether they make a run with that, make something to do with that play or not, that they're handed the ball off, they're at least taking a nibble at the table. They're at least taking a nibble at the table, right? And he said, yep, looking forward to your post-game response. It will be nice to see you happy in a response. Hey, if I come off negative, I don't mean to apologize for being negative. That's just the mood that I'm in because of what's going on, because of certain things, right? Because of how we've, in my opinion, mishandled certain situations that we shouldn't be mishandling anymore. In other words, the excuses are over. The training wheels are off. Maybe this was the game. Training wheels are off. Go get it. Go punish those Owls. Take it out on them. Now, does that mean I'm going to be happy looking forward? No, I'm still going to have the same thoughts in the back of my mind as any fan would, as anybody who looks at the game would. Trailer, even his post-game conference said, expected to be inconsistent. He basically said that. Now, he's undefeated at home in conference play. Okay. That will be tested against Tulane, don't you think? On a Thursday night, national TV, that will be tested. Let's hope we get there after a victory, too. After a victory up in Denton. This team that played like this team that executed like this defense that executed like this, can win in Denton. This team we saw on Saturday night can win in Denton. The team we saw against Temple will get steamrolled in Denton. That's for a different video. Then let me share some more afterthoughts, right? Excuse me, I thought I had it here. I'm looking on my iPad instead of my phone, so I have it to where the stuff comes through. And someone out of their way just with a fist bump and a boom. Then I said, man, they are firing on all cylinders. And the defense got mad, and I think the defense got mad when they gave up that TV. And I said, you should be here. They weren't at the game. My response was exactly. I simply cannot describe just how hard the defense was hitting. This was the most violent game I've witnessed in person by the defense. And all within the rules. You could hear the cracking. I mean, I felt sorry for Rice offensive. Said, oh yeah, a lot of big, painful Rice players are hurting. I said 61 points, school record, yada, yada, yada. And I said Tennyson threw some nice passes that should have been caught. There was some good coverage there. But those balls hit the wide receivers in very catchable positions, right? But we need to see that. We need to see what Tennyson is going to bring to the table next year because he's clearly committed as a second-string QB right now. So heir apparent, right? So we need to see what he's going to bring next year or the year after that, right? We need to see that. And this was a perfect situation to see that. You got a pass batted down at the line, right? It is what it is. Second string played like our second string should play against them, right? They played great. You can't say anything bad about our offensive scheme. There was at one point where I said, man, I didn't like that play. And I think it was just we were trying to get cute against Rice. And it just didn't work out. But that's us, right? I can say I don't like that, but we do that almost every game. And I'm okay with it. Because sometimes even when those triple, quadruple reverses, throwbacks, that kind of stuff, even if they don't work, you are forcing them to read that every time you run a toss sweep. If you run a toss sweep, quarterback goes out like we did with Frank, like 8 different times, right? Now all of a sudden you run it. All of a sudden they're not reacting to that as much as fast as possible. And you know you're not going to run it, or the running back can see a lane and he can take off, right? That's what I'm talking about. So I'm okay with that. I wasn't really happy. I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it because at the point you didn't need it. But at the same time, at the point, it's still in the game. It's still on the call sheet, and you're still running it, and you are still showing schools we're willing to run it at any given moment when teams see game film, right? Teams get game film, right? When they're watching it on TV, you know what? They can scout it and they see it, right? McCown played really good. I'm going to give him his feathers, right? I'm going to give him his flowers. I'm going to give him his props. He played really good. He played very, very within himself. There's some times where I think he takes a little too long to make the decision to go outside to create a little extra with the play. He takes a little too long to do that, or he's kind of a little indecisive. And he's running like 75%, and you can see the defensive players chasing him down. Whereas there's times where I'd like to see him, Steve Young, especially rolling out to his left, because he's lefty, come out as soon as he's running out and he's like that, and he knows there's nobody there, and he makes eye contact. He's looking outfield, just pump fake. Just put the ball up in there and make that defender react one way or the other at that moment. Doesn't have to throw it, but just put it up in the air. And that defender is going to read that and do something. I'd like to see him do stuff, kind of that stuff when you see him when he gets outside the pocket, just real quick. Just put the ball up real quick. I know that can lead to turnovers, but there's a point when you can do it and you can get away with it, and the defenders see it and they react to it. That's all I'm saying. In fact, if you go back, and I mentioned this before, and watch Steve Young running, there's times when I would always say he's pump faking halfway down the field when he's 20 yards past the line of scrimmage. It really wasn't him pump faking. It's the way he would run, because he'd hold the ball like a loaf of bread, like a quarterback would, up high. And so sometimes his hand would just go up as he's moving and stuff like that. Defense players react on that because they're like, well, maybe he's trying to throw the ball and creating a turnover, and I'm going to grab it right then and there, right? Versus illegal forward pass, right? That's one thing that McCown could work on, in my opinion, big time. His deep ball looked better this week, and looking better means there was a chance. Every pass had a chance to be caught. I remember someone said you gotta dive for that ball, right? You've got to dive for that ball. And the one that went over the guy's head that was just there. And yeah, and I kind of agree with that. So you can't really take that from Owen in that regard. It looked like we came out of the game healthy, which was good. I saw number 76 offensive lineman go down, and I saw him back in the game, or maybe he's number 74. I don't know if we have two number 74s, but he came back in the game. I think he's our right guard or right tackle. Man, don't get me to remember their names, right? Not only offensive line. Not that I don't appreciate what offensive linemen do. It's just they're in the middle of everything. You don't really hear their name called, and it gets harder. And I'm not the kind of guy that looks at all those stats up unless they start sticking out, right? But he's obviously one of our better offensive linemen, and so good to see him come back in the game. So let's hope he heals up. It's nothing major, and he's ready to go against North Texas. Now, let's talk about how do you feel after the game. Obviously, we're euphoric. Obviously, we're euphoric from this historic beatdown, right? Rice could have easily said, let's shorten the fourth quarter to 10 minutes. Coaches can do that. Just call the opposing team over. The not the opposing, but coaches can do that with with an official and say, "Hey, come here. I need to talk to you. I don't want my kids hurt anymore." Right? I've seen that happen. That's happened many times, but usually it's a P5 school really giving it to a G5 school, right? Usually that's when it happens, right? And they'll or a FCS school, and they'll just do it just for player safety, both sides of the ball. You know, like the P5 school had enough playing time from their kids, their backups, that they don't need to see anymore. And so when the other opposing side says, "Yeah, you know what, let's just go ahead and shorten the fourth quarter to 10 minutes," right? Something like that. I've seen that. FIU did that against Alabama one year. They were getting beat pretty bad, and they'd already lost 3 guys. I'm being serious when I say this. They'd already lost like 3 major starters, right? The funny thing was FIU beat us that year. Coach Wilson was our coach. So I'm surprised Rice didn't do it, knowing that they lost their first and second string QBs, and their third string QBs out there. I know he needed practice, but you don't put your team through that. This was the kind of game that, yeah, you throw in the white towel offensively. But I'm glad they didn't, because we whooped their butt. And I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, but we could have beaten any other school 61-13. And I don't think it would resonate with me as the same as us beating Rice 61-13. Just the smugness and the way they are, with the way they've done stupid stuff, the way their band acted that last time they played in San Antonio in the Alamo Dome. I'm happy it was them. I ain't gonna lie. I'm happy it was them. You see me laughing about this, and I am happy it was them. So let's look at some of the stats really quick, because that was something really quick. I'm going to go through this really quick, so just stick with me for another hot minute. Oh, Rice at UTSA at North Texas. Let's see, UTSA Rice 61-13 was the final score. Team stats: we had 21 first downs. We only had 21 first downs. Now check this out. We only had 437 total yards. Scored 61 points. It's because those defensive plays. 14. Was it 14? And then the safety. So 16 points from the defense. There you go. Like I said, through the 2 quarterbacks were 16 of 25 for 246 yards. We only had 191 yards rushing. But like I said, a lot of that had to do with our mesh read and going in the middle and trying to create that. And then once we realized we could get to the outside, that's where all the yardage came from. Rice only had 269 yards of total offense. That's incredible. They only passed for 79 yards. I knew they couldn't pass the ball, but still only 79 yards. Whew. Only 190 yards rushing. That was well below their season average. They averaged like 268 rushing, right? Brandon Tennyson only completed 1 pass for 10 yards. Like I said, he threw a couple catchable balls that should have been caught. Good to see Will Henderson got himself 115 yards. He had that 57-yard run. Robert Henry's 15-yard run for 60. He got himself 64 yards. Donnell had himself a fun little game. He had a long of 8 yards, but only rushed for 10 yards. Got to see a Marion Peterson in there. Brandon Tennyson, he had he got him some yards. Overmeyer got himself 2 yards. I think that was a play that I said I didn't like. And of course, McCown got sacked for -12. Receiving, Wilson had himself a game. 2 catches for 77 yards. McEwen was solid again. DJ Allen, you know, for only having 3 catches, it sure sounded like they called his name a lot more than 3 catches. 16 receptions, and yeah, this is amazing. 16 different, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different players caught a pass. 6 different running backs carried the ball and got positive yards. And if you if you consider Overmeyer, he was 7. We had 1 fumble, didn't lose a fumble. Shad got himself a fumble recovery. That was for a touchdown, right? UTSA defense, gee, many Christmas. Stick with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. 33 players played defense. 33 players played defense. That's all. That's third string. You only put 11 on the side of the ball one time. That's third string. Not bad. Not bad at all. Our field goal kicker is looking okay. Hogan punted 3 times for 124 yards, long of 46, so that's not bad. He punted in some weird situation to where we were like in between, and then we were already beat him pretty bad. Didn't want to give him the ball right back, so just pooch kick it kind of thing. So he had himself a nice little game. This is an A++ game. This was a game that we needed to see from these Roadrunners. Let me rephrase that they needed to see from those Roadrunners. They needed to see this. And I can tell you sitting on this bench, I didn't see any silly stuff going on. No. I've seen when our teams in the past have handled somebody pretty good. And, you saw Mayfield, I got a video where he's doing like that because they make fun of the little running bird and stuff like that. And we beat whoever did that at the time. Was that North Texas, right? We beat them pretty good one time. That was good to see because that was a relief of a lot of stress, right? That was our second conference championship season. So that was good to see. And or maybe that was our second. But anyway, it was good to see that, right? That they were still focused. Now I'm going to clip in a video after this this was later in the game. And you can't hear what Coach Lepp is doing. He was on those defensive players. We were already up big. I want to say it was like 38-10 at the time. He was on them still. Anyway, peace out, Roadrunners. It was a little longer. Yes, I'm happy. Yes, I love the Roadrunners. Yes, I will be in every game that I can be in. Thursday night game might be a little rough, knowing my schedule, right? I don't know what's going to happen, whether I'll even be at any more home games or be able to even travel, right, for the rest of the college football season. I got surgery coming up soon, so I don't know. Anyway, peace out. This has been a long one. I don't care. You can listen to all of it. You love my voice. Turn it on. Put your earphones in and go to sleep to it. It's okay. I didn't yell. I didn't hoot and holler. But I will have another video tomorrow night talking about a little bit different subject. Like I said, I'm going to start creating a little bit more videos like I have. I might go in depth on this game, but I think it's going to be a little bit more coaching staff related. Let's just put it that way. All right. Peace out. Birds up. Boo!